Hi all, welcome to this video podcast series. And today we have Pradeep Kone here, who is experienced application infrastructure manager with over 11 years of experience in managing complex IT environments. With his current role, he is oversees the deployment, development, and maintenance of critical applications along with infrastructure, ensuring that key to the running the smooth and effective business. And actually, he is a very wealth in knowledge in different areas like cloud computing, database, SaaS, PaaS, infrastructure as service, and so many, with including the software development. And he worked with a range of in different kind of domains and industries. And we are really excited to have you here, Pradeep. And so, without any further delay, I would really, introduce Pradeep to this audio podcast. And along with it, I would like to set up the contest for the audience in terms of how they can take this into the further with the help them. So I'll start with Pradeep Kone background along with his application management skill set and with his personal experiences in different domains with industry trends and personal experiences. Along with it, not the least, but I would like to ask or hear from Pradeep about his advice and skills if someone want to join or start a career in this domain. So how they have to start with it. So that's the interview pattern I'm looking for, Pradeep. So to start with it, would you mind to share about your experience, a little background about you, along with it, how you reached this position? Obviously, I know you personally from a long time, but if you can share some insights about yourself to the audience, that would be great. From there, we can start.
Yeah. Firstly, before I start with my background, I would like to congratulate Shravan on what he's doing to this knowledge domain, like the series of the videos, either the troubleshooting videos or the podcast that he's trying to do in this area is really commendable.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah. Coming to my background, I'm a computer science graduate from one of the colleges that are affiliated to Andhra University. So that is back around 11 years ago. So even during the college times, I was much into this technology, and I'm more interested in the what we can say practical knowledge than the actual theoretical basics that we have. So that really helped me in the past. I used to be my college website web administrator, and we developed a website for one of the colleges, our schools and colleges too during that time. So, and then we took up some POS devices from for the electricity department, and we developed a C language code for that. This was way back in 2010-11. I was talking about that time. There was an organization called Vision Tech in Hyderabad. We came down all the way from our hometown to here, and we were able to get all the knowledge from them. And we implemented a project successfully for the electricity department of our West Godavari district. So back then, so I was always interested in learning new things and implementing them. And then I joined a service-based organization. I was campus placed in that, and I worked in that organization for around 7 years. I never believed in switching organizations most because I want to make my mark at one place. That won't be possible in just 2 or 3 years. So people should know us, and then only we can achieve something at one place. So I don't really believe in the concept of switching organizations more frequently. So I stick on to my earlier organization for around 7 years. I started as a fresher over there, and I was a lead by the time I came out of that organization. I was managing whatever the team I joined. For the same team, I was managing it with a staff of around 15 to 18 people, and I was directly interacting with one of the networking giants at that time and the clients, and I was working for them. So I had to relocate from Bangalore to Hyderabad back then. And after relocating as well remotely, I was working with them for an year or so. But then I didn't feel working remotely with the team. It didn't work out much because the whole team is sitting at one place, but whereas I was alone at a different remote location. If everyone are remote, like the current scenario, it would have worked better. But then that was the scenario back then. So after that, I switched to another organization, which is not my cup of tea. And then currently, I'm with one of the product-based companies. It is a telecom giant in US again. So here I have been with them for the past 4.5 years or so. And I started as a lead over here. And now I am a manager managing the whole application level. Like we have the Java developers, Angular for the front end, and operations, DevOps resources, DBA. My core strength is actually Oracle database. And then I learned multiple technologies as per the business need, like the Microsoft technologies like Microsoft Azure, etc. And DevOps, Tomcat, whatever my main motto is, whatever the thing I am managing, like for the team. So I try to learn the technology so that I'll have some grip or some knowledge in that area, so that it helps me in talking to my team or distributing the work or getting it done, like knowing the exact timelines, etc. That's all about me, Shravan.
Great, great. Thanks a lot, Pradeep. That is really tremendous journey from starting as a very intent kind of a role to now managing a people with infrastructure and an application, and that's a really tremendous journey. Really good to know. I'm glad you're here so that we audience really can understand if they want to really grow, how they have to start and how the transition has to be happen. You set up one kind of an example that's really appreciable. So, Pradeep, by considering all the domains or technology stack which you have been worked with, would you mind us to share what kind of the key responsibilities currently you are being with, like your application infrastructure manager? So, how your day to day looks like, and what are the primary responsibilities you take over as of nowadays?
Right. Currently, as my experience, considering my experience of 11 years, I don't want to lose the technology part yet. So my current responsibilities are like, I'll concentrate on my actual work for 50%, and the remaining 50% I'm dedicating to these managerial activities. So I'll just split it into two and I'll talk about it. Coming to the
Okay, sure.
managerial activities, I'll talk to my team on a daily basis, get to know their needs and accomplish them. Their needs can be personal, as in like the maternity benefits, paternity benefits, future leave plans, or the training needs if they want to learn something, or
Mhm.
their certification needs, etc. All
Okay.
these things. And sometimes not every time the employees are satisfied with the things that are happening in the organizations. So making sure that they are in the right set of mind to work is my primary motto. So whatever that needs and that takes to achieve that, I'll talk to them and make sure that is happening. That is one. And the second, I was at this place because I consider myself as a bridge between my team and the higher management rather than just a manager. So
Mhm.
whatever my higher management needs and wants, I'll just take it. I'll translate into the way that the team understands, because not everyone understands the business logic or why the timelines are that tight and all. So it takes some time for people to understand why it has to be achieved in a shorter span or something. So I'll just translate that, explain them in the layman's terms in a way that they understand and they can deliver, and make sure everyone are on the same page. These all are
Okay.
comes under the managerial responsibilities, other than the compensation and this appraisal cycles, etc. All these things. And then the coming to the actual technical work that I do, I'm continuing to be the primary spark for any new application that comes in. So I go into the calls with them. I'll join the Scrum meeting for all the applications. I'll join the Scrum meetings and see what the daily updates that are happening and where the team is and when we have the next demos and whether they were scheduled in the right fashion or not. And for the new applications, we take up the requirement and we'll start with the POCs. And I involve in almost all the POCs that are happening currently. So what I usually do is I learn the new technology, try to implement and see if we are able to achieve it, then involve the whole team and make sure we go ahead with the development efforts. So
Okay.
that way, if people are stuck, I'll know where exactly they were stuck and we can implement. Other than that, we have around 10 to 12 applications that are currently under maintenance. So there will be production issues going on or some maintenance activities going on, like patching, updates, and cloud level certificates
Yes.
at an ops level, daily deployments from Jenkins, all these things. Like end to end, I'll get involved in that.
Okay.
Except
Okay.
for the
Great.
development in the Java. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Great, Pradeep. To consolidate about my understanding, what you've been said is, if I'm not wrong, you're spending 50% of time in managing the team, and along with it, other 50% you are spending in certain amount of in design, implement, and orchestration with an operations, because you are involving in automation cycle also. So,
Right.
I would like to know from the audience standpoint, like how do you prioritize work? Because you are doing a management and you are doing a technical work also. When one way, if you ask me personally, getting into a technical touch or not losing into technical is one of the credibility which you are building of your portfolio. At the same time, you're managing a management team also as a key player. So how do you balance together? Are you seeing any issues? Because my major interest of this question is when this kind of situation arises, mostly a conflict happens, right? Management versus technical, because if you are running it with two heads, because management says make the team work, and from the technical standpoint, we say as an individual contributor, I want to work on more technical. So how do you maintain consistency or balance together? And when some conflict happens, how do you resolve those?
Yeah. Earlier, I used to think I should work on everything. But as I grow in my career, I understood that getting things done is also very important. So we should identify who are good at what. A person might have multiple skills, but I know exactly who is the right person when something comes up in my team. And whenever someone comes in newly as well, analyzing and assessing where they are good at. Because if you don't put the right person at the right place, that doesn't work out at the end of the day.
True.
So we can't ask the fish to fly or a bird to swim. So someone has to do their own job. So at the end of the day, that's what I do. So nowadays, rather than me doing it myself, once the POC part is done, when I know what exactly needs to be achieved, I know who is the right person. The person comes to my mind. My major job would be wherever he is stuck currently. I need to go back to their technical architects or the scrum masters or the business analysts of that project and ask them some time from that project for this person. So XYZ time from that project, I'll get him out and I'll put him here. So that slowly and gradually he'll get into this. That's the major motto that I would follow. And whenever technical and managerial parts both come into play, technical part comes first than managerial ones. So because if there is a production issue and I need to talk to someone on a leave, but in this part, my team is really understandable. So I'll just tell them we can discuss this tomorrow, or I'll call you once our work hours are done. So they're really understandable. So we'll complete the whatever the big fish that is in our hand, and we'll once that is fried, then we'll come back here and talk about the other things.
Okay, great. So basically, you delegate things once you have the scope. From that point of time, you delegate to the team. Got it. Understood. And by moving the item, Pradeep, how you manage, because you are involving in different life cycles of an application. You might not be, as you've been rightly mentioned, you might not be involved in the development, but some of the development team might be reporting to you, or testing team might be reporting to you, deployment team and maintenance team. There are so many teams might be reporting to you, right? So when these many teams involved in the picture, like how do you strategize to ensure that application meets business needs and requirements? Because I'm talking about a decade ago, when there is a multiple teams involvement is there, when something comes up, usually, as you know, putting ball in a different basket. So that is the biggest complexity which I can see when multiple teams working, or you are working with the multiple teams. So how do you handle those situations by considering all these factors, and how do you make sure the business meets the requirement and vice versa? How do you handle those situations?
Actually, in this scenario, Agile is really helping us a lot. As we are in the Agile methodology, having daily Scrum calls for across the applications that we are currently managing. So, that are in active development or in enhancement phase. So, we'll have daily Scrum calls wherein the business analyst will or the Scrum masters will take up what is happening and what is pending. So, from my end, what I do is once the whole of our development team leaves for the day, I'll have calls with these business analysts or the Scrum masters, like one combined call with all of them. So they stay in US, so I had to extend a bit. So when I talk to them, I'll know where exactly we are, or if someone is lagging. So I'll talk to that person one-on-one and make sure what are their concerns. See, I have for each technology, I have at least 4 to 5 people. So if one person is having an issue with something, in some other application, they might have already resolved, but this person might not be knowing it. So my job is to talk to both of them and make sure they are in one call. I'll set up a call sometime in our afternoons. So they both discuss and come up with the action plan. So it is tailor-made and readily available, but this person might not be knowing. So we just
Okay.
need to, that make and shift has to happen at that time. So such
Okay.
things I'll take care.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. By looking at that, right, my next question would be, would you mind to share any example? Because you might be running so many projects parallelly, right? So can you share any example, what the successful recent or any past biggest projects which you've been handled, and what kind of challenges you encountered while doing that project or while delivered that project?
Like in our environment, it's an everyday challenge for us. So every day we keep coming up with some challenge or the other, and we successfully just push it or get over with it. So and the greatest challenge that we have faced is during the COVID times. So before the COVID has hit us, our plan is to all our applications and services are on premise. So we wanted to move to cloud. So that is the organization directive, and we planned and we strategized to move to Microsoft Azure. So but then suddenly COVID has hit us. So everyone started working remotely. We never that was never anticipated, or never. At most, out of the whole team, max 2 to 3 people will be working from home on any given day. But everyone working remotely, and some are working from hometowns with lesser connectivity and all. So it was horrible at that moment, for a moment. So then we sat back, we discussed, we prioritized, and there is no other go. We have to go ahead.
Yeah, good.
So during the peak COVID of the first wave, we were able to successfully migrate 10 to 12 applications from on-premise to cloud, that to everyone working from home. So
Oh, great.
that I take it up as a biggest challenge that we face, and which I delivered. That actually paved a way for me to becoming a manager as well. That time I was a lead, operations lead and a database administrator. But the way I coordinated with the development team and with the Microsoft experts from the Azure level, and how the things are strategized and planned, because the coverage with the US is very less. It is around 3 to 4 hours at max. What was done and what we are going to do can be discussed, but the whole implementation has to be happen in the off business hours, in the India hours. So that really helped us, and we are able to successfully deliver that.
Okay, great. So by listening to you, I think pandemic has taught a lot of things. Obviously, first of for each individual, for me even before pandemic, after pandemic, the mindset was quite different. So in your case, also it seems pandemic
All
helped us
right.
to certain extent, by learning how to work from remotely, which you had challenges at initial stages of your career or after initial stages of your learning curve experience. Great, good
Exactly.
to know that. So, and after this, you might manage so many servers, so many databases, so many applications, right? So, by considering the stability and the scalability, you know, and security, so how do you manage, your inventory or whatever you call, right, from the technical context side? How do you maintain your CMDB? How do you maintain your inventory, and how do you maintain as a system owner, right? Because since you are an application and infrastructure manager, how do you handle these large scale environments, and what is the source of truth you have been using it?
Right. Uh, from an infosec perspective of the organization, we already have all this tracked and planned. But what from my end we would be doing is, I have Sparks for everyone within my team, be it Oracle, a Tomcat, or the certificates, or the Jenkins jobs. So what's their responsibility is, I'll have one-on-one calls with that particular person once in every month in the beginning of the month. What their job is, they have to make sure, other than the automated scripts, sometimes scripts might not, some script might be taking data from somewhere and it might be publishing. I mean to say, it might not be robust 100% of the time. It works 99% of the times. But my team's responsibility is, they have to go ahead and identify the red, amber, and the green ones for every quarter. So every
Okay.
month, not even a quarter, every month on month basis, we started doing it recently. So they'll identify that, and whenever if the next quarter or the next month, we'll be getting a list from the organization. I want them to be green now itself. If organization is
Okay.
considering N, I'm planning for N-1 now itself, or N+1. So I want
Okay.
to ensure by the time the list is released, we are already compliant. They don't have any complaints. Because if once any infosec related list, be it any vulnerability or a patching or a security related, so it does it keeps a high amount of pressure on the higher management. Once a list has been released, they think that something is happening to this service. They never understand like it's a quarterly thing that would happen and people identify it on a regular basis. So from the we can't blame them. From their perspective, it looks like there is some security bug that is present and we are vulnerable. So my point is, as soon as it is identified, why not fix it? And in case if there is a critical application or criticality to the application, if we have to wait for some 20 days or 30 days before we can go ahead with the implementation of the fix in production, we'll have ample of time in this case if we do it well in advance. So that's what the strategy I follow, and delegating it to multiple people so that it clears their mind as well. They have only one objective in their mind other than their regular work. This is just one additional task they're doing, so they'll put their 100% in it and do it rather than me doing everything. So this way also we have everything tracked, and having one-on-one calls with them makes me in sync. And we have sheets that are present on the SharePoint where which we can track on regular basis. So that way I ensure security.
So basically, as soon as you receive security vulnerability report, from that point of time, you proactively monitor and proactively work with the team to fix them before you actually get the report from the management. So yeah, that's a very good approach. If I understood properly, that's what you have been doing. And if that is the case, and one more point which I would like to raise over here, with my experience, maybe I'm a little different pattern or domain came from. Like security versus user experience is quite different, because when you implement more security, my personal feeling is you are going to reduce the user experience, because it might take MFA, like multi-factor authentication. You need to enter password. On top of that, you need to enter a security code. I'm saying that as a simple example.
Right.
So when you are increasing the security, user experience might dip a little. So have you ever faced any such kind of user experience issues in your experience?
Yeah, we did face, like a customer will feel discomfort or uncomfortable in the beginning whenever we start with such additional fixes or additional security features. But it's our job to make them understand why we are implementing it in the first place and what happened before we implemented it. We can give them some scenarios wherein the whole system has failed, or a single point failure because of some malware or some intruder that has coming into our system. So we just have to communicate to them that this is happening and this has happened in the past and this might happen to our system too. So when we give them the exact examples, sometimes they'll understand. With the example like the multi-factor authentication you have taken, so such scenarios they'll understand. But if we disable the whole file system level access to them and all, sometimes it might backfire as well. So we have to come up with a plan B too, implementing the security as well as making sure they get access to what they really needed as well. Instead of giving access to the whole system, probably a directory level access wherein they can get what they need can be done. So it's not 100% or zero. Somewhere in between, we have to find the middle line and go accordingly. That's what I feel.
Okay, so basically, when you're implementing any new security feature, you're going to create an awareness with the stakeholders or to educate them. Then they might get into use and they might understand the benefits of the implementation of new security features. Yeah, that's really good approach. Because to create an awareness, that's how they will understand. Because we cannot expect everybody to be a technical. So yeah, that's a very good approach. And other than that, Pradeep, I would like to understand, because since you are having a managerial role also in your current organization, one important thing I always feel is, how do you ensure your team is productive and engaged? Because you are right now, you're managing a couple of teams or a single team, however, how big your time should be. How do you make sure all the team members are productive and they are engaged?
Actually, I ensure we get more work than we actually have. Like if I have 15-member team, I ensure I have 20-member team related work in my hand all the time. So that whenever a recession or something gets hit as well, we'll never be impacted and my team will be in the safe zone always. So whenever we have more work to do, obviously everyone would be 100% occupied. But there are instances where are people deliberately try to avoid work, say they are occupied with something. So as I mentioned, having a call with all the scrum masters and all the application analysts really helps in this context. So wherever they are allocated 50%, 30%, 20%, so they'll mention, are you really on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, I'll get that information. Are you really utilizing him here 20%? If not, kindly release him for some 2 weeks period. But in the next bi-weekly meeting, you can get him back so that I'll utilize him elsewhere. So that's how it goes. And we keep changing it dynamically. And we make sure the team member also understands that this is happening. We need him there. It's not like without his involvement, we are doing something that might not give a good impression to him as well. So we just ensure, we tell him, communicate to him that this is happening for next 2 weeks. There is some important work that is happening in that area. Kindly work on that. So
Okay.
and as we divide it into small modules and multiple chunks, it is easier. So he goes there, completes that, comes back. So that's how it works.
Okay, great. So basically, Agile is helping you a lot in this, I think so,
Right.
in this complete process. Awesome. Good to know that. So other aspect which I'm interested, especially Pradeep, uh, because, conflict happens, whether within the team or across the team. So basically, when some dynamic conflict happens, how do you address it? How once you get to know, okay, there is some conflict happened between the team or within the team, between the team members. So how do you address?
Firstly, I talk to both the parties involved in the conflict, and I want to get both the views. Because if I go according to one view, it's always blinded. We never know what the other person is feeling or they're feeling. So always, if everyone are matured here, everyone are like almost 30 plus, 35 plus in this environment. So if not, at least more than 25 years old. So they know what they're doing. Until they feel they're doing the right thing, they won't argue over there. So both parties feel they are right.
Yes.
So ideally, if we can identify the exact issue, and if we prove them wrong with an example there, like you did this might cause this, I did a POC and see here this is happening. That's the reason that person might have told you this, but the tone they said and the place they said might be wrong. That I'll talk to them separately and make sure that is not repeated. But this technical part is the wrong from your end, or this is the cause or fault at your end. You correct this one. So that way, and to the other person as well, I'll go and tell whatever you have said is right, but the placement or the timing is wrong. This could have been dealt in a different level or a different, not in front of the clients or in front of our business owners or his appraiser or our VP. So whoever is involved. So not in front of them. So such things I ensure. And as the team is all within Hyderabad, I make sure some team bonding activities as well happen. Currently, due to this pandemic, we never had it. So we started going back to offices now. So plannings are complete, and we had some lunches in the last couple of months, team lunches. So we are planning for some team bonding activities too. That really helps. Everyone staying remotely doesn't. They detach. So we have to find some way to attach, so that if they know the person very well, he can't even say that to him sometimes. So these are the things that I follow.
Okay, great. So even while you're saying, I got even remember one of my mentor told me, okay, when there is something conflict happens, whether with you or somebody, my mentor used to say that, okay, agree to disagree. So then that resolves the issue. So yeah, I got reminded, when you were talking about the conflicts. Yeah, really good to know. Now, Pradeep, let me get into a little, about yourself rather than the team. Now, of course, we spoke a lot about the team. Now, how do you stay up to date with the latest trends and developments in the application and infrastructure segment? As you know, technology is moving very aggressively in different domains or different verticals. So how do you make yourself, stay up to date? How do you motivate yourself, by learning new technologies, or, how do you manage?
I allocate some time to read about the current technologies I'm working on. Like whatever the technologies I am or my team is managing, I read about them. I make sure I allocate some time and read about them. But when it comes to new technologies, I am really a step back actually. So I need to allocate some more time as well, because in multiple areas, the technology is rapidly developing. So I just know what the technology is, where they are used. But to know in deep about that, I am not getting, actually, I have to allocate more time. But what I am doing is, whenever there was an organizational change or our organization wants to go in some direction, I'm making sure I'm a step ahead and learning those technologies at least. They might be in use because last year, in the end of the last year, probably we planned on working on Snowflake. So
Mhm.
I managed to learn Snowflake, did a POC, and we are able to do whatever the client needs. But it never went into the implementation. Probably it might come in future, but then we never actually implemented. But whenever we know that organization is going in one direction, if you plan to stay in that same organization, it's always better to be one step ahead, because whenever there is a chance, we have an opportunity to grab. Because if there is a call with multiple infra managers or multiple application managers, then if someone is really willing to, we can really tell whether our team will be able to manage, and we can take that stake to our team and we can implement it or not. So that way, if we don't know what we are stepping into, then the problem arises. Without knowing, if we take up some work and the team really says they can't do it, or it takes more time, then stretching the team and all these things happen. I never encourage the team to stretch beyond their hours as well, unless until there is a production issue and it is critical. So it's always we have to give that work-life balance to the team as well. So these things really help staying up to date. Yeah.
Great. Good to know. Okay, Pradeep, I have one more question, which is very important for an audience, especially from the audience standpoint. And what is your advice to give an individuals who have been interested in pursuing a career in application and infrastructure management? And, what do you think, what skills have been essential to be succeeded in this field? Would you mind to share your personal thoughts and personal, advice for the audience?
Sure. I'm not in a position to advise at this moment, as I'm still learning and growing. I just consider this helped me whenever I was working. So,
Mhm.
what I would like to say is, don't silo yourself. Like for anything, just let's not silo ourselves to a particular work, or then whenever we get siloed to a particular work. Sorry for the disturbance. Yeah, whenever we get siloed to a particular work, what happens is we restrict ourselves. In that way, we grow, but we won't expand. So we'll keep learning and gaining more knowledge in that same area rather than expanding our horizon. So now jack and all trades is the current market strategy, right? They don't want master in one. They want a
Yeah.
person who is jack and juggling across multiple technologies. So what really helped me is, whenever there is an issue at an application level, I went and dwelled the logs. If I don't know how to do that, if it's any particular technology, I googled it. I found where to find the logs, even for that such minute details. When in the beginning of my career, I used to find it, go there, find the logs, search for the basic keywords like the error, exception, failed, etc. And based on that, put the error again in Google, find a solution. Or any organization will have their own set of documents or the knowledge base that is present. So just go through, read the knowledge base, troubleshooting articles. Those going through them really helps, because if someone has already faced the same, sometimes the errors might be deceptive as well. So if
Mhm.
someone has already faced it, it's always better to have someone else's experience and use it for our use, because we get over that issue at a faster pace. So, and when we silo ourselves to the actual technology, then we have to say, no, that is Tomcat. I am an Oracle administrator,
Yeah.
so that is not my cup of tea, so I can't. We need someone from that team to come over, and they'll obviously, like, everyone will feel theirs is correct. So they'll
Yeah.
say, we don't see. If Tomcat guy says there is no issue from his end, an infra person, and at the same time an Oracle guy say, hey, there is no issue from their end, both are correct, because the connectivity is the problem there. So whenever
Yes.
they both sit, or one person has extend and like gain more knowledge in both the technologies, we can't really solve it, because it's the connectivity. Both the parties are right, they're working I mean, they can work individually, but the connectivity is missing there, or having an issue there. So just whether it is yours or theirs or someone else's, if you have access to it, just go ahead, explore, but don't make any changes, unforeseen changes that they don't expect. Having a reader level view is always good across all technologies that your company manages, if you have an access. But modifying, just better to reach out to the experts or the SMEs in those area and tell them you have read this, you found this modification might help you in somewhere. Ask them if it can be done or if it is kept in that way for a
Right.
particular purpose, and make sure then only they touch it
True.
rather than we touching it, because there can be some other reasons which is kept in a particular manner for particular reason. So that's what I advise. Just keep learning.
True. I completely echo you, Pradeep. And even in my experience, maybe a decade ago, there was a more models called silo models, compute storage, network, database, security. There was different verticals of it. But I believe it's more about a mindset. People has to adopt it. Like they have to get into multiple technology. They have to make their hands dirty. So viewers, you might hear from the Pradeep. That's what, his experience is very valued, because nowadays enterprises are not looking for an individual contributor of a single domain. Rather, they are expecting multiple domains. That's why I believe DevOps, DevSecOps, and all coming into crazy, and they are playing a vital role in many organizations, or most of the organizations. And I really appreciate, Pradeep, your thoughts and your advices for that. That's really matters for most of the viewers who are going to view this podcast. And finally, I would like to know from my personal thought process, how do you balance? Maybe it might be a repetitive question, but let me put it in a different way. How do you balance the technical aspects of the manager role? Because this is one of the craziest combination, I would say that. Now, in recent times, I do understand tech managers are being more evolved over the time, because a decade ago it's more about manager role is separate and technical role is separate. There was should be there. Now I can see the trend has been differentiated in such a way of technical manager is role has been created. I can see a lot of organizations are pulling resource in that domain. So I believe you are also part of the technical manager kind of a role you have been playing right now. So by considering the technical manager role, how it is different from the traditional manager role, and how especially you balance these technical aspects with these management aspects.
Yeah, when it comes to the technical aspects, as I mentioned earlier, I work on the POCs. Whenever a new technology comes in or a training is happening, I make sure I am part of it. I extend myself and make sure I work on that. So the technical part in me gets satisfied at that moment, because I have already worked on the technology and neither in and out of it, and what are the limitations that we have, or what else can we achieve by using that technology. So that is one. And then by doing so, whenever the client wants an estimates or the stakeholder needs the estimates, or how much would be the budgeting, etc., I can give them the answers, and the timelines I can give them the answers. That way it helps. As well as working on the POC helps me in getting myself satisfied with the thirst that I have for the
Yes.
technology. So once that is done, I leave it up to the team. So then once this is settled, then I leave it up to the team. And whenever during sometimes if something is very complex to achieve, we tend to hear the answer like that it cannot be done this in this technology. That is when I delve in. I sit with the team. We might go into a call, or we might pull in some other people who are more experienced and who has more knowledge in that. But I know it definitely works out. So we'll pull them in, or I'll sit with the team and make sure we deliver that part. So even that way it helps. So these are, and anytime I was very good at troubleshooting. That's what I rate myself whenever in those areas. So whenever there is a huge issue, when people are going in multiple directions, like pulling them all together and giving them a directive that this could be the issue, if we concentrate on this area, we would definitely get over this issue. In those areas, like going as usual, if I am on like in call or doing something, I just don't want the team. I wait for the team. I just Belvin share my screen. I'll open that log, this log, etc., and we try to pull the exact issue. So that as well helps me in satisfying my technical um, thirst, we can say. Yeah.
Great, great. And by looking at your role, my personal feeling is, rather than saying application infrastructure manager, I believe you are a pure technical manager. So that suits most of the contributions we are doing. So I believe going forward, technical manager role is going to be very critical. That's what the trending which I'm saying. Even most of the organizations, when I've been doing my personal analysis, technical manager role he's been wide open than the normal managers. So I hope you are in right direction. And I really appreciate Pradeep for all your efforts to attend this vlog, and you helped myself and even for viewers to share your insight from your standpoint, your perspective. And once again, I really thank for joining this session. And have a great day, guys. And viewers, thanks for your viewing this. And I hope this session helped you to understand from the application infrastructure standpoint. So before we drop off, Pradeep, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Yeah. Thanks for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and keep doing the good work that you're doing. That it really helps a lot of people who wants to know and get more insights on what is exactly happening inside IT, or if they want to expand how they're gonna do it. It gives them a path actually. So having a good mentor is always helpful. These podcasts really
Uh,
help them find one. So, or
sure.
at least the path. So
Absolutely.
all the very best,
Absolutely.
and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pradeep, and really appreciate for all your efforts and joining the session. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in next session. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.